Hello, welcome to the Battle and Barrel and another terrain making video. My kind of favourite video, really. I love making terrain. Probably know that already. So I wanted to do something. I've got to use certain terrain that I'm going to be making in the future this year. I want to, beforehand it's just stuff I thought would be cool for the channel, but now I want to make stuff that I've got a use for. There's going to be games I want to play that got specific needs of terrain for, so I'm going to be making that, whether it's big or small. And this guide is going to be one of those small ones, so small, quick and easy. There are times when I need, in certain games, that I need a hole in the ground. That's very difficult to do with scatter terrain. If you've got a purpose-built board, you can carve into it and make a hole. But with scatter terrain, type terrain, when you're putting things on top of a board, having a hole really difficult. So you're going to have to sort of fake it up, and that's what we're going to be doing here. We are going to be making this little piece here, where you're going to have a hole going into the ground. Loads of uses for this. So if you're playing Middle Earth SBG and you're in Osgiliath, for instance, you could have this as an objective sort of type marker that you've got to try and seal up to stop the orcs from gaining access to the sewers in Osgiliath. If you're playing Mordheim or Warhammer Skirmish, you could have this where, similar thing, you've got to seal it up. Your objective to seal it up, but rather than stopping something from getting in, you're stopping Skaven from bursting out. Or, and it's what I want it for, a D&D adventure, access to the lower levels of a dungeon. So you can see here it's even got a rope on. So yeah, that's what we're going to be making. Let's get making it. So this project is great for all those offcuts and scraps and bits and pieces, and we're going to utilise them. So we're going to use some chipboard, some scraps of foam core, some balsa wood. But we're going to start off with this bit of chipboard where I'm just going to work out how big I want the hole to be. So I want this hole to be about the size of one of my squares on my dungeon tiles. So I'm just going to roughly work that out, which is about 1.25 inches. Once I've got that, I'm going to draw a rough hole shape like so. Now I'm going to come in with some offcuts of foam core, and off camera I am just going to hack away at them, and this is also perfect for those dull knives. You know, normally with foam core you want a new fresh blade. It's perfect to utilise your old dull blades with, because you want it to tear a bit. This is a ruin. You want it to look like bits of debris have fallen down onto the floor, causing the hole. Sometimes I'm going to want to come in and sort of angle one half of the foam core so it looks like it's not just sitting on top of the floor, it looks like it's embedded into the floor and angling upwards like this. So very carefully do this, as with all knives, you to use them carefully. Once I've rearranged them, I just come in with some glue and glue them into place. Now I'm going to come in and cut up some strips of balsa wood, and these will act as bits of wood that's in the debris as well, so there's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just going to come in with little bits of balsa and just glue them into place. Once I've glued all those into place and it's dried, I'm just going to apply some glue around the edges in between the bits of balsa and the bits of foam core, and then come in with a wet brush and sort of paint that glue around, if you like. So I'm spreading it around. Once I've done that, I'm just going to come in with my sand mixture and apply some of that, and also spread out some ballast of different sizes. This is small and medium, just to act as bigger lumps of concrete block, whatever, just to give that extra debris look. I want the hole to be to have a rope that descends down into it. So for this, I'm just coming with a big bit of crossbeam of balsa wood, and then in the middle where I want the rope to be, I'm just going to apply some PVA glue, and I will wrap the rope round. This is just some twine, some garden twine, just a little scrap of this I had laying around. If you've watched the Halloween terrain videos for 2020, I made some gibbets and gallows. This is the same method I did to do the nooses, where wrap some PVA coated twine around and let that dry and set, and it will go hard. And what I'm going to be doing here is just applying a bit of PVA down a length of the twine, and again, once this sets, it goes hard, and this will be the rope descending into the hole. Gonna have to leave this, put this to one side and let it dry. Once it has dried, you can put it into place and just see, because I've made it longer than what it needs to be, so I can put it into place and I can see where I'm going to need to cut it with some scissors. Once it has been cut, you can come in with some PVA and just glue it into place. Make sure to apply a blob at the end of the rope, because that will need to be held in place into the hole. And once you get it in place, you can use some sort of tool. Here I'm using a sculpting tool just to manipulate the rope, get it into the exact place where you want it. So I'm just going to straighten it up. Once everything's dried, I can come in with a pair of scissors and cut round the card around the edges where I've glued the sand. Undercoat it in black, and I'm going to come in with some rhinox hide, and I'm going to paint all the sand and ballast in that. Next, going to come in with some Mechanicus Standard Grey and just undercoat all the bits of foam core in that. Get some Steel Legion Drab, and I'm going to paint the rope in that. Next, some Dryad Bark and all the bits of wood balsa. The balsa wood are going to be painted in this. And then I'm going to take some Dawnstone, and I'm going to go in, I don't know if this is even an overbrush, but it's going over the Mechanicus but not totally covering it, so you can still see some of it shining through or showing through. So I'd probably describe this as an overzealous overbrush. And then finally, I'm just going to come in with a sort of tan colour. This is what I use for my terrain building. It's actually a colour called Coastline, but it's like a tan carrack stone, and I'm just going to dry brush over the entire piece, over everything. And then I'm going to wash the piece in my black. I haven't really covered this, but it's just black ink, water, a little bit of brown paint, a little bit of green paint, and some dishwasher detergent. Not much of that, just so it all flows properly. I'm going to cover the entire piece. And this is what it looks like once it's all dried. Looks pretty good. There's only one final thing to do now, and that's I want to use this on my magnetic dungeon tile system. So it's got to be able to stick to that, which it doesn't. But there's a simple solution, and if you've seen my caving videos, you'll know what it's going to be. It's going to be this stuff, which is a magnetic sheet. It's quite thin, easy to cut. I just got to make sure that the shiny side is the magnetic side, and the more matte side is not, so that will stick to the sheet. What I want to do now is place my piece on top, come around with a pencil and just draw around the edge. Cut that out, and on the underneath of the whole piece itself, coming with some PVA and using an old brush that I set aside for just this sort of job, I will come in and I will add a bit of water to it just to move it around, just to spread it around the piece. Once I've done that, it's just a case of gluing it to the correct side of the magnetic sheet. Let that dry for a bit, and we're done. And this is what it looks like when it's done. It will attach to this quite easy. So that's it for another video. This one's quick and easy. Before we get to the glamour shots, I'd like to say it'd be great if you can like, comment, and on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But until next time, guys, take care. Our heroes have travelled through the dungeon in search of the way down. They cannot find it. All they have found is a hole in the floor, in which they decide they must descend to